Collector Archive Services presents Collecting Star Wars. Visit our website at collectorarchive.com for grading, preserving, and custom displays of your collectible toys, video games, and sports memorabilia. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and comment below, and subscribe to our channel for more awesome collector videos.
Hello toy fans, I'm Whitlock from Collector Archive Services. For today's CAS 101, we have episode 4 in the Vintage Star Wars Cardback series, which takes an in-depth look at all the Cardbacks in the Vintage Kenner line. I'll be your host as we explore each Cardback from 12 to 92, discussing added characters, special offers, and variations unique to each individual series. In this episode, we explore 11 new figures, 2 intentionally unique Cardbacks, and we get a special offer no one ever saw. So stay tuned as we delve deep into the line that gave us our first glimpse at the greatest movie of all times with 5 facts about 31 and 32 backs. Fact number 1. 10 new Empire Strikes Back characters, with an 11th added after the movie premiere. There is no stopping Kenner this time. In 1977, Kenner was caught unaware, holding the license for the hottest movie of the year with not a single piece of merchandise to show for it. Back then, they failed to see the double slice of genius that George Lucas had presented to them. Not only did he produce a movie rich with fun characters that easily translated into toys, but he also introduced a concept of movie marketing that would revolutionize the movie and toy industry alike. Fortunately for us, Kenner was able to flex in time to launch a movie tie-in toy line before Star Wars hysteria had cooled. In doing so, they basically backed themselves into the most successful toy line of all time. When Lucasfilm began production on the sequel to Star Wars, Kenner knew it had to be ready, and ready they were. The Empire Strikes Back 31-back toys came out well in advance of the new movie, quickly following the Empire Strikes Back 21-backs. The 31-backs featured 10 new characters, all packaged on cardbacks, featuring a movie still of the character on front of the card, just as they had done on the previous movie. In retrospect, this may not seem like a significant point, however, for the first 21 figures, the images of the characters were from a movie kids had presumably already seen. For the Empire Strikes Back characters, the still images were from a movie they had yet to see. In a world before YouTube and DVRs, these were often the first glimpses into the new worlds featured in the new movie. Essentially, each of the new characters provided a micro glimpse into the new reaches of a galaxy far, far away. This method of using toys to market a movie geared towards kids is probably the single most significant contribution Kenner made to the toy and movie industry. We can talk about the scale of the figures in regards to the playsets and vehicles, and we can talk about the longevity of a line that has lasted 40 years, but really nothing says Star Wars more than its ability to form a symbiotic circle with its merchandising. The 31-back cards were the pioneers of this concept. Spoiler alert, we'll be talking about this a lot in this episode, but first, let's talk about the toys. The 31-backs picked up where the Empire 21s left off, with a black color scheme on back. They also followed the familiar format of the previous offer list releases, with the characters residing above the playsets and accessories. For the 31-backs, the new characters were placed in 2 rows on the left-hand side of the card, with the classic characters on the right. There were 3 Kenner peripherals, ships, playsets, etc., placed at the bottom of the card, although they differed depending on which cardback you had. That's right, the 31A and 31Bs were intentionally different. This was another slice of ingenious marketing launched with this cardback, something we'll discuss later on in this episode as well. The 31-back cards added 10 new figures to the Kenner lineup. The initial Empire Strikes Back release was heavy with core characters returning with all new costumes, as well as plenty of good guys, but also added 2 new bounty hunters to the mix, giving fans confirmation that this elusive bunch of characters would eventually play a key role in the Star Wars story. The new characters were Lando Calrissian, Bespin Security Guard, Luke Skywalker Bespin Fatigues, Rebel Soldier Hoth Battle Gear, Imperial Stormtrooper Hoth Battle Gear, FX-7 Medical Droid, Leia Organa Bespin Gown, Han Solo Hoth Outfit, Boss Bounty Hunter, IG-88 Bounty Hunter, and then later, of course, Yoda. After watching the movie, fans had to wonder why Kenners had failed to make an action figure of the most notable new character of the new movie. Yoda was clearly the breakout star of the new movie, yet prior to the movie's premiere, he was absent in any and all marketing. This, as it turned out, was intentional and another piece of marketing brilliance. Yoda was kept as a surprise character. Kenner waited until the movie hit theaters, then flooded stores with Yoda merchandise in all shapes and sizes. Included in this toy tsunami was a pint-sized Yoda action figure. This new figure was loaded with accessories, including a cane, a snake, a belt, and a soft goods coat. His launch also included updated packaging for him and most of the 31 Kenner action figures currently in circulation. Without warning, the 31 backs were retired and replaced with 32 backs, identical cards, only now with Yoda added to the list of figures to collect. This quick and unexpected 30-second character makes the 31 back card some of the shortest lived debut cards of the entire Vintage Kenner run and gives Yoda a debut series all to himself. Well, not really, but that's something we're going to discuss in fact number 4. And now for a few 31, 32 back bonus facts. Bonus fact number 1, a case full of Yodas. Kenner wasn't content to simply release Yoda mixed with the rest of the figures in the 32 back cases. Instead, predicting his popularity, they released Yoda in cases all to himself as well. This resulted in store end caps and bins full of the tiny Jedi, and it also explains why his 32-back release is by far the most common. The loose version of the 32-back Yoda, the Orange Snake Yoda, is also his most plentiful loose figure. This speaks to the sheer volume of Yoda's production during this time. The Orange Snake Yoda only exists on 32 and 41 back cards and likely were only produced for a year, maybe less, while the Brown Snake Yoda was produced for more than 3 years. Regardless, the Brown Snake version is considered to be harder to find and commands a premium, a slight premium at least, over the Orange Snake Yoda version. They made that many of them. The 32-back Yoda is far from rare, yet still is considered one of the most iconic pieces in the Vintage Kenner line. Bonus fact number 2, Cardbacks as a marketing tool. As kids waited in anticipation of the new movie, the new figures, and especially the Cardbacks gave them clues as to what was yet to come. In sharp contrast to the desert scenes of Tatooine or the industrial look of the Death Star scenes, kids getting early Empire Strikes Back toys were amazed to see that part of the new movie took place on a winter planet named Hoth. They were also informed that they would discover Bespin and would be meeting bounty hunters. The ships and playsets on the backs of the cards give them their first look at an AT-AT and a snowspeeder. All of this information could be seen by poring over a simple cardback and reading into the names and descriptions printed therein. Cardbacks became important clues as to what was yet to come and quickly became collectibles in and of themselves. By releasing these figures prior to the movies, not only did Kenner inspire kids to collect all of the new characters, they made them fans of the packaging as well. The nostalgia collector's feel with the vintage Star Wars packaging was born from the fact that the packaging played such a crucial role in their childhood Star Wars experience. Bonus fact number 3, Kenner loses respect for the droids from the original movie. If you decide that you would like to collect all of the original characters on offerless Empire Strikes Back cards, you're going to want to become very familiar with the 31 backs, but not the 32 backs. That is because Kenner was not keen to release many of the secondary characters from the first movie on Empire Strikes Back cards. For characters such as Power Droid, Death Star Droid, and R5-D4, the only realistic way to find an offerless version of these figures is on the 31 back cards. These figures do not have 32 back cards. There are a handful that have been found on offerless 41D and E card backs, but they are extremely scarce. These characters do exist on card backs with offers, implying that Kenner figured kids probably wouldn't buy these figures unless they were incentivized by a special offer. This means offerless versions of these characters command a slight premium on Empire Strikes Back cards. Keep that in mind before starting an Empire offerless focus. You have been warned. Fact number 2. It was the first of times, it was the last of times. There was a lot of relevant firsts for the 31-32 back series, but the first is the granddaddy of them all. Kenner made movie history with the Empire Strikes Back line. The Empire Strikes Back was the first movie to have a toy line tease its release. From that moment forward, toys became a key part of movie marketing. Today, we see Force Friday as a rite of passage. We clamor for new figures from new movie franchises prior to the movie's debut. But in 1980, this concept was fresh and new. not only did kids want to add the new figures to their collection, but they wanted to know how those figures factored into the new story. Of all the firsts I mentioned in this video series, this is the one definitive fact that defines the Star Wars toy line. It was the first that changed toys forever. Also a first, the 32 backs were the first Cardback to debut a figure that had been kept secret prior to the movie premiere. Kenner pulled this off perfectly. Leading into the movie, kids didn't realize that Kenner was keeping a key plot point secret. As soon as the movie opened, the demand for everything Yoda went supernova. Kenner was ready. From action figures to puppets, from Magic 8-Ball-esque fortune tellers to posters, there was plenty of Yoda for everyone. Delaying this release of Yoda not only made the movie more mysterious and exciting, but it gave kids something new to get them back into toy stores. They may have loaded up on the new Empire Strikes Back figures prior to the movie, but they needed Yoda to complete the action. Kenner made a half-hearted effort to recreate this magic with the Ewoks, leading into the release of Return of the Jedi, but they kind of screwed it up by releasing the Ewoks on Cardbacks designed to tease the release. This is why some Return of the Jedi cards have blacked out Ewoks. This is something we'll discuss in a future video, 5 facts on 65 backs, and that, my friends, is a tease for a future video. The 31 and 32 backs are also the first time Kenner made intentional A and B Cardback variations. This is something we'll talk about in greater detail in fact number 3, but the 31 and 32 backs come in 2 distinct variations. One Cardback, the 3132A, comes with primarily Rebel-themed accessories, while the 3132B back has Imperial-themed ships and accessories. This allowed Kenner to market more of its peripheral products, but also made things somewhat confusing for debut Cardback collectors. Debut cards can be a pain to collect. It's not for the faint of heart. Trust me, I know. The 31 backs also mark the debut Cardback for the character formerly known as a Death Squad commander. Seeking a career change from executioner to commanding his very own starship, the Star Destroyer commander made his first appearance on the ESB 31 back card. His 31 back issue featured his promotion to Star Destroyer commander, although his Cardback photo still featured the same eyes closed image that we remember from his debut card back in 1978, proving once and for all that if you take a bad picture, your friends will never let you live it down. There is one last on this list, but it's a dubious one. The 31 back card marked the last time Luke would debut with a yellow lightsaber. While the nonsensical yellow lightsabers would endure through the rest of the Kenner run for both the original Luke as well as the Bespin Luke, any other Lukes that were made that came with a lightsaber were given the correct blue color. Until it was green. Given the importance of lightsabers in the Star Wars story, and the fact that Luke was the main protagonist, the fact that Kenner couldn't get the color of the lightsaber straight for the entire run is baffling. I mean, they literally never got it right. When it was blue, it was supposed to be green. When it was yellow, it was supposed to be blue. Never got it right, ever. Incidentally, R2 had one lightsaber, and they got that right. But these are the unique charms of the vintage Kenner line. It's why we love it. Fact number 3, Cardback variations. Lots and lots of kidding. Finally, we have a reasonable amount of Cardbacks, although there's still a large degree of craziness anyways. Up until the 31 back run, Cardback variations were done to revise Cardbacks or to improve them. With the 12 backs, they adjusted the instructions on how to use a lightsaber from a DT saber to the standard ones. On 20 backs, they covered the rocket firing feature on the Boba Fett because they were no longer going to offer that feature. With the 31A and 31B, they created 2 different backs in order to diversify their ability to advertise products on the Cardback. As Kenner kept adding figures to the collection, the available space open to advertise other items was shrinking. By adding alternate Cardbacks, Kenner expanded their ability to advertise peripheral products like ships, playsets, and action figure cases, and thus, the intentional alternate Cardback was born. The 31A and 31B differ with the products that they feature at the bottom of the card. The 31A is more Rebel themed, featuring a Snowspeeder, the Millennium Falcon, and the Imperial Attack Base. The 31B has the Hoth Ice Planet, the Star Destroyer Commander, as well as the Darth Vader Collector Case. What makes these backs so unique is that Kenner did not put each character on each back. In fact, they put 19 characters on the 31A card back and 12 characters on the 31B. meaning that figures will appear on either a 31A or a 31B. Thus, some figures make their debut on a B cardback. In the past, this has caused significant confusion, with collectors trying to get a character on a debut 31A, not knowing that a 31A does not exist. Here is a list of characters that appear on a 31A back, next to a list of characters that exist on a 31B. Notice that the Leia Bespin, Luke Bespin, Lando Calrissian, and the Hoth Rebel Soldier make their debut on a 31B. If you're looking for 31A versions, I regret to inform you, you're on a futile quest. The 32 backs are identical to the 31 backs, except that Yoda has been added to the upper left-hand corner of the card. While it's awesome that Kenner went out of the way to create a unique cardback for Yoda, they inexplicably overcomplicated the issue by swapping figures for no apparent reason whatsoever. It would have been easy for them to transfer every figure from a 31A to a 32A, and every figure from a 31B to a 32B, but no way. Why would they make it easy? Kenner decided to even up the list by having 13 figures on the 32A and 13 figures on the 32B. If you do the math, you realize that there are only 26 figures accounted for. That's because Kenner decided to omit 6 characters from the 32 back cards. To date, no known samples of Jawa, Sand People, Hammerhead, R5-D4, Death Star Droid, or Power Droid are known to exist. They were gone, wiped out by the Empire, with no explanation whatsoever. Here is a list of the figures that exist on 32A next to a list of the figures that exist on a 32B. An asterisk will denote the figures that switched from a 31A to a 32B or a 31B to a 31A. If you can find any reason for these random changes, please leave an explanation in the comments below, because honestly, I'm baffled. Last but certainly not least is the 3132C back. This cardback is extremely rare and is often forgotten. The 3132C back was a survival kit offer. This offer included a large round sticker on the front, accompanied by a sticker on the back covering the accessories, depicting the survival kit offer that we would become familiar with on the 41A cardback. There are only 3 known characters who have been produced on this cardback. They are R5-D4, Hoth Stormtrooper, and the Bespin Security Guard. The R5-D4 is the only known 31 back, while the other 2 are 32 backs. Only a few samples of each of these exist. Probably less than 5 of each character are known. It is not known how these characters were distributed, why so few figures were ever seen on this cardback, or why they are so rare. At least one has been found with a store price sticker, which implies that they were distributed at retail. But little else is known about this elusive issue. Finding one can take years, and buying one will cost you big time. Imagine spending more money on a Bespin Security Guard than you would for a used jet ski. We're talking big money. Huge, like Boba Fett money. That tells you something. Fact number 4. Card front variations. Not only did the 3132 backs give us our first intentional cardback variations, they also gave us our first card front photo variations. Lucasfilm was very secretive about The Empire Strikes Back. While the Kenner toys were a great sneak peek into the new movie, Lucasfilm was very careful about the images it chose to release for distribution. When the 31 back cards were released, the images they used for Luke Skywalker Bespin fatigues and the Leia Organa Bespin gown were not the best images to use for core characters. The 31 back Luke Skywalker is called the walking image. This image is a 3/4 shot of Luke walking through Bespin. Many fans like this image, but it's quite blurry and the nameplate cuts off part of his head. The 31 back Leia Bespin image is a profile image of Leia. The nameplate cuts off her head as well, and the color of the image is pale and somewhat bland. As much as these images have gained appeal over the years, Kenner was not satisfied with them, and they were discontinued after the 31 back card. When the 32 backs were released, Kenner refreshed Luke and Leia with the images that would accompany the action figures for the rest of the vintage run. The 32 back Luke is called the looking image. This image shows a half shot of Luke with his blaster drawn. It's a clearer, more intentional picture of Luke. The 32 back image of Leia is a 3/4 front shot with Leia facing forward. This image shows much better color contrast and better reflects the figure that accompanies the image. Having 2 different images on 2 different card backs creates different debut cards based on the images. The 31-back Luke Bespin is a debut card for that figure, but the 32-back Luke Bespin is a debut card for the looking image. The 31-back Leia Bespin is a debut card for the action figure, while the 32-back Leia Bespin is a debut card for the front-facing image. The debut images were retired after the 31 card. However, as a fun fact, the Princess Leia profile image was revised for the Tri-Logo run that circulated in Europe. This version was retouched with better color and truly looks amazing. Fact number 5, Rarities, Variations, and Unexpected Cameos. Rarities. If we consider the 31, 32-back figures on a spectrum, with Yoda being on one side, with cases and cases of debut cards showing up in stores, Bosk would be on the other side, sparse and alone. Most likely due to the fact that the mailer versions of Bosk were still showing up in mailboxes when the 31-back was released, the 31A Bosk is one of the rarest debut figures in the Kenner run. Similar to the dilemma that we see with the 20B debut figures versus their nearly identical 21-back versions, the 32-back Bosk looks identical to the 31-back Bosk from the front. If you were to walk into a room and see a Bosk on a shelf, you couldn't tell from the front if it was a rare 31-back version or the more common 32-back. The difference is seen on the collectible market, with a mint 31-back Bosk likely selling for 10 times what the 32-back Bosk will sell for. It's an enormous price difference for a debut card versus a second appearance, but for debut card collectors, the subtle difference is worth the price and worth the effort, or so I'm told. Variations. Less of a variation as much as a paint mistake and long-term paint degradation issue, the Leia Bespin is sometimes found with a gold or green neck. The gold paint used for her necklace was sometimes overshot and covered her whole neck. This is called a gold neck version. The gold neck version sometimes will discolor and turn green. Paint degradation on the gold neck versions can create a green neck version. This seems to be more prevalent on the 31-back first photo versions and can sometimes command a premium at retail. Beware, paying premium for a gold neck version may someday inadvertently net you a green neck version. You heard it here first. Unexpected cameos. Of all the silly and unexpected things to show up on a 31-back card, the small head Han Solo is absolutely the most incredible. Retired after the 12C Cardback, the small head Han had not seen production for over a year when it began circulating on Empire Strikes Back cards. This run was very limited and suggests that a bunch of these may have been found in the factory somewhere and were packaged up to extinguish this old inventory. This carded version of the small head Han is extremely scarce and is often more expensive than his 12-back issues. This would be the last time Kenner would ever produce this figure on a cardback, although Hasbro did release a version of this figure on the Classic Edition 4-packs in 1995. This brings us to the end of our 5 facts about 31 32-backs. Thank you for sticking around as we discussed industry-changing market strategies, as well as seeing the debut of some of the hobby's most iconic and valuable characters. Check us out next time for 5 facts about 41-backs, where Kenner revises most of the figures that they literally just released, they make drastic changes to the cardback format, and they temporarily turn Luke's head red. I wish I were joking. Until then, keep collecting!